Hello indie game fans, we have a slow start to the month of February, but things should pick up based on the titles currently announced for the month. But we do however have a number of interesting titles this week, including an FTL-like, a survival title, a gorgeous looking action tower defense game, a puzzle game, a first-person adventure game, a 3D action platformer, and even a Darkest Dungeon-like in this edition of Indie Gaming this week. The heavy metal track for the trailer of Valheim did sell me on it, and it's a Norse mythology themed multiplayer survival title that looks like a promising entry in the genre. In line with games like Rust and Ark Survival Evolved, it does have that survival game jank, looking a little rough around the edges, with I would say not the most impressive visuals, but I do think that it's part of the charm, with a variety of mythological monsters to battle which looks neat. A pleasant looking action-adventure entry of the week is Slay the Dragon, where you play as an older sister who must rescue her brother from an evil dragon. It's simple but looks well made, having a nice variety of biomes and enemies, with this being a student project as well, making it even more impressive. It should be free as well, so no harm checking it out. Things appear to have looped around on themselves with Trigon Space Story, a roguelite management title where you're managing a crew on board a battleship, having to assign the right people to the right battle stations at the right time. Of course, it's very similar to FTL Faster Than Light, only with jazzed up graphics, so I do hope that this developer has brought something new to the table. If you are a fan of FTL but think that it might look a little too old for 2021, do keep an eye on this. Another free entry is MONOLISK, a dungeon crawling action RPG title that does allow you to build your own dungeons, having elements of CCGs as well, with crossplay on mobile, so it does look to be of interest.
Oh my god, there are aliens all over the ship. Come on, open up. Wow, this looks kinda dangerous.
Add one more real-time spaceship management title to the list with The Captain is Dead.
Ready! Get your goddamn dirty tentacles off of my spaceship!
It's based on a physical board game of the same name, where players assume the roles of various crew members and have to work together to survive.
Reminds me of one of those old-fashioned video games. And I'm done.
Taking charge.
This includes fending off aliens, keeping the ship running and completing a mission, so it simply looks like fun with friends.
Those aliens picked the wrong ship to mess with.
The captain is dead.
Just one bigger game this week with Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood, once again based on the World of Darkness property, and is a third-person action title where you play as a werewolf exiled from his pack. It's from French studio Cyanide, which is a bigger team but not exactly AAA, so it might be of interest to you, and did get my attention since it's interesting to see this license being used more liberally in games these days.
My name is Ampersat. I've traveled these realms as a warrior mage for decades, but now I face my greatest challenge.
Smaller Games of the Week begins with Ampersat, an interesting action-adventure title that, due to the design of the character, does look to be inspired by Rogue to some degree. The developer cites influences ranging from Zelda to Gauntlet and Smash TV, looking like a decent action-adventure RPG entry that could be interesting.
50 handcrafted levels. Plus an endless procedural area and a town hub to upgrade with plenty of secrets to uncover. Hundreds of pieces of unique equipment to find, buy, augment, and sell. RPG progression with an extensive skill tree. Drop-in local co-op. And over 10 devious bosses to make life hell.
I do love my shoot 'em ups, and one which caught my eye this week is the 2-bit title Binarystar Infinity. Red, black and white is a classic color combination seen in games like Downwell and is used to great effect here, so if you like this genre as well, do get your fix this week with this game. Some interesting ports to check out as well, beginning with the first-person horror title Conarium getting a Switch version, inspired by the classic Lovecraftian tale At the Mountains of Madness, but in a modern context, set in a base in Antarctica, so spooky times await. The open-world 3D platformer Glyph also launches on the North American eShop after being out elsewhere for a little while, and does look interesting where you play as a mechanical scarab. Interestingly, there's a free VR version of this game on Steam, so if you do have a headset, do check this out. The lovey-dovey RPG Haven impressed me in December and gets PS4 and Switch versions this week, now being available on all modern platforms, so no excuse not to give it a go.
I killed him.
Whoa, you.
Oh, come on. Dodge this one!
Got it.
You rock! You like that?
That's gotta hurt.
Monkey Barrels was an interesting twin-stick shooter that released on Switch in 2019 from, I believe, a Japanese developer and makes its way to PC via the Epic Games Store this week. Japanese developer Kairosoft is back once again with another pixel art management sim, Station Manager, being ported to Switch from mobile this week, where this developer has absolutely nailed the formula on this type of game. Now I'm not quite sure if Ardent Arise will make it to launch, since it does have a release date on a Sunday, which is not normal for games, but if it does, it's one to watch. A super sleek and stylish action tower defense title that mixes shoot 'em up with strategy, it gets on the board for the look alone. I think that the title of this game is referencing the Commodore 64, one of the earliest consumer-grade personal computers from the 80s, but if you love meta puzzle games, this will be of interest. I do love the 1-bit look of the game as well, so certainly curious about this.
You made it! It's me, Nina. Welcome to Mammoth Forest.
Another visually impressive title is Nuts, the self-described surveillance mystery title where you have to set up cameras to track the behavior of squirrels from a cabin in the woods. There seems to be something darker and weirder going on in the forest, which does give me the creeps, but certainly very strong Firewatch vibes from this and could be neat.
Looks like he goes a little further. Can you follow him all the way? Hey, you know how our study seems to be so well funded? It's weird, right? I hope it's not weird in a bad way. What the? Is that what I think it is? Why would a squirrel stash dynamite and matches? What the ever-loving hell is going on?
I've mentioned Blue Fire in my video covering the best upcoming indie games of the month, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but it's a slick looking 3D action platformer that does look like a challenge. There appears to be an interesting world to explore, giving off a little bit of a Hollow Knight vibe, with the platforming in particular looking tricky. It's been on my watch list since last year when it was revealed, so we'll get to check it out very soon. I almost included Dungeon No Dungeon in my last video on upcoming turn-based roguelikes, but in the course of making that, realized that it was releasing very soon, so I did save it for this video. It's a Darkest Dungeon-like RPG but with 3 party members, participating in turn-based positional combat with a cool art style. There's quite an impressive meta progression system where individual units can be leveled and customized, with item crafting, forging, training and more at your home base. Runs are separated into expeditions, with the node-based exploration map and random events, so all fairly standard for this genre. Combat seems to be neat, since you can target specific limbs on enemies to take away their moves, where chopping off an arm will disable their attack, so there is some variety and we'll see how deep this system is. You know me, Darkest Dungeon is one of my favourite indie games of all time, so of course this has my attention, taking the number 1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.